नमस्ते बेटियों, खुश रहिए। आई JVN Muskan Kumari from the Department of Science and Technology and working here as an assistant professor in JVWU Women's University and the Faculty of Education and Methodology. So today's your session is just about the DNS protocol and previous if you talk about the previous sessions, then I have discussed the many application layer protocols like I have discussed with you the SMTP, FTP, and HTTP. Now today I will discuss the DNS protocols, which is in your course. Okay, so just to make this topic very easily and very clearly to understanding to all of you, I'm just going to share the some files through which you can easily understand and get all the points very clearly. Okay, so hold 1 minute. I'm just sharing this. Yes, this here. Introduction to the DNS. So, what is the DNS basically? DNS, this is the application layer protocol, defines how the application processes running on the different system and pass message to each other. Clearly, so for this purpose, we are using the DNS protocols. Okay. Now, DNS basically stands for the domain name system, and DNS is a directory service that provides the mapping between the name of a host on the network and its numerical addresses. Clear? Now, if you talk about the DNS is required for the functioning of the internet, each node is in a tree. Suppose each node in a tree has domain name, and a full domain name is a sequence of symbol specified by dots. Clear? So, DNS is a services that translates the domain name into the IP address, and this allows the users of network to utilize the user-friendly names and then looking for other hosts instead of remembering the IP addresses. So it is not possible that each many more users will remind these all the IP addresses of different websites. Clear? So they have at least understands and remind and remember the name of the servers. Clear? So but IP addresses is not possible to keep in my minds of different servers. Clear? Websites, right? So through the to getting this name of the system or domain name of the system, we just use the DNS server, which basically do the fetch the IP addresses and match that IP address with the domain name and fetch that domain name to the client side. Clear? So basically what here, DNS service that translates the domain name into the IP address. Firstly, whatever you are searching, suppose you have to open the Gmail and you don't know the spelling of the Gmail, anything maybe possibility. Then if you write the G and then your name will G capitals will be matched to the all the IP addresses and results you the all the many more results related with your G, and then you click over the Gmail, then that domain name matched to the IP address of the Gmail. Okay, and this allow the users the network to utilize a user friendly name, and when we're looking for the other host, instead of remembering the IP addresses, we directly use their name. Clear? So for example, suppose the FTP sites at edusoft had an IP address of suppose 132.147.168.111, anything else will be okay. Most of people would reach this site by specifying that what F- ftp.edusoft, isn't it? ftp.edusoft.com, they are using this thing type. So therefore domain name is more reliable than the IP addresses. Clear? Now what DNS is a TCP/IP protocols use the different platforms the domain name space is a space divided into the three and different sections. First will be your generic domains, country domain, and inverse domains. Okay, what is the working of the generic domains? Clear? So generic domain, if you defines, it defines the registered host according to their generic behavior. It defines the all the registered hosts according to their working or their behavior, generic behavior. Each node in a tree defines the domain name, which is an index to the DNS database. Clear? It uses three character label, and these label describes the organization type. Now here you will see that the label and their descriptions. Okay, so area label basically specifies for the airlines and airspace companies. Whenever we are using the biz, this is basically used for the business or the firms. Clear? If you are using the .com, like using anything, then use .com. So .com is the commercial organizations. If you are using the coop, then it is used for the cooperative business organizations. If you are saying the edu, that is basically used for educational institutions. And if using the gov, that is for the government institutions. If you are using in .info, then this is the information service providers. And if you are using the .int, then this is the international organization. If you are using the .mil, then it is the military groups. Okay, if you are using the museums, then it is used for the museum and other non-profit organizations. And if you are using the name, then it is the personal names. If you are using the net, then it is the network support centers. And if you are using .org, then it is non-profit organizations. Okay, if you are using the PRO, then this is the professional individual organization. Okay, professional individual organizations. So you can see here that there is a root levels, and here you are using the multiple levels like com, edu, edu, gov, int, mil, net, and org. And here you are, if using the fhda, etc, cha, then you can write from bottom to the top. Whenever you are writing the domain name, then you are writing from bottom to the top, the chal.etc.fhda.edu. Okay, so this time. Now if you talk about the country domain, the format of country domain is same as the generic domain, but it is uses the format is what this format, this is written. Okay, so the country domain, but it uses two character country abbreviations like the us for the United States, US for the United States, in place of three character organizational abbreviations. Okay, instead of using the three character abbreviations, we are using the two character abbreviations. Clear? But in inverse domain, the inverse domain is used for mapping address to name when a server has received a request from the client and the server contains the file of only authorized client. To determine whether the client is on the authorized list or not, it sends a query to the DNS server and asks for mapping an address to the name. Clear? So this is the inverse domain. And if you talk about the working of the DNS, then DNS is a client server network communication protocol. DNS clients send requests to the server, and while DNS server has responses to the client also. Client request contains a name which is converted into the IP address known as the forward DNS lookup, while requesting containing the IP address which is converted into a name is known as the reverse DNS lookup. Clear? One is the forward DNS lookup, another is reverse DNS lookup. Forward DNS lookup is just what name is converted into IP address, and whenever the IP address is converted into the name, then this is called the reverse DNS lookup. Okay, DNS implements a distributed database to store the name of all the hosts available on the internet. Clear? If a client like a web browser send a request containing the host name, then a piece of software such as DNS resolver sends a request to the DNS server to obtain the IP addresses and address of the host name. If DNS server doesn't contain the IP address which is associated with a host name, then it forwards basically request to the another DNS server, and if IP address has arrived at the resolver sides, then which is in the turn to complete the request over the internet protocols. Clear? So this is all about your the DNS domain name system. I hope you will get all the points which I have discussed just regarding the DNS. Clear? So once again, I just want to recall these all the things. So, DNS. What will be the DNS? Domain name system is the also like a phone book of the internet. Human access the informations online through the domain name, like nighttimes.com or ipsen.com. Web browsers interact through the internet protocol addresses, and DNS translates the domain names to the IP addresses and vice versa. Also, IP address, so browsers can load the internet resources. Clear? So each device must be connected to the internet, has a unique IP address which other machines use to find the devices where the devices is located. DNS server eliminate the need of human to memorize IP address such as 192.168.1.1, isn't it, in the IPv4, or more complex neural alphanumeric IP addresses such as the 2400 CV00 colon 2048 colon 1, and then feed again you are using in this IPv6. So IPv6 IP address is more complex than the IPv4, isn't it? So to resolve this work, we are using the DNS protocol. The process will be the DNS protocol involves the converting the host name, like whatever you are using, the http.www.example.com, into the computer friendly IP address, like they are converted into the IP address like 192.168.1.1, isn't it? Then IP decimal, this is not going to call here the points, 192.168.1 Okay, so IP address is given to each the devices to the on the internet that has address is necessary to find the appropriate internet device, like a street address is used to find the particular home. Whenever user wants to load the web pages, the translation must occur between the what the user types into their web browser, like example.com, and the machine friendly address necessary to locate the example.com web pages also. In this order, the process behind the DNS resolution, it's important to learn about the different hardware components of DNS query must have between whatever that we are using, isn't it? And so this is all about your mm, this is all about your DNS working. And here you can see that there are three types of the generic domain, country domain, inverse domain. Generic domain is very well known to. This is basically depends on the behavior, and this all are the labels. And country domain is also similar as to the generic domains, which we will use. The format is same for both. And the inverse domain is basically used for mapping the address to the name whenever server has received request from the client, and server contains the file of only authorized clients. Okay, and the working of DNS is already I have discussed this as well. So if you have any problem regarding this session, then please let me know your query by dropping your query into the comment section box whenever you are using the attendance online. Okay, so please read this session from multiple standard book also, and follow the multiple websites through which this content will be easily retrieved by you. Okay, and many more questions which will be possibilities to arise from this session Please be prepared that all questions also, like the working of the, what do you mean by DNS, define the working of DNS, isn't it? What do you mean by the country domain? Please explain this with an example. So please do this session very clearly by yourself again. Okay, thank you.